or want to refinance your current ride, we've got you with affordable payments and easy approvals. Picture yourself behind the wheel, windows down, music up, on the road to what matters most. Apply today at Western.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're popping today. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's get this thing popping here. Let's get some people on board. Let's get some comments going. Let's get rolling.
Designed for family meals.
Share this. Let's share this with people. Appreciate it if you can share this with other people, which would be nice.
Our salad dressings and marinades.
Pretty easy to share, right? You just hit the share button on YouTube and shoot it to some other people.
Come taste what everyone's talking about. Stefano's.
Going to tell people to watch the monologue, man. And if you have some monologue topics that you want to see, throw them in the chat and we'll get on that.
We give you the care you're taught to give your patients to help you fulfill the potential you always had.
Yes. Watch the monologue each day.
Education at Galen. We'll do everything we can to support you. Visit galencollege.edu to learn more. Galen is officially licensed to operate by the CPE.
Right. Yeah, we're excited to have you here today, man. There's a lot to talk about. I want to get into the free agency class or lack thereof of free agents. I don't see a lot of great free agents. I don't. A couple of good offensive linemen, but there aren't many, man. So I think this could be a weird free agency period. I'm starting to buy into the hype that there could be trades overall.
Did you know you could donate real estate too? Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, let's do this.
JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich.
Now, the only other coaching news now is going to be
refreshing taste.
it's going to be position coaches, and that to me is not a huge topic on who's the linebacker coach or whoever. They're going to fill that out, and we look forward to that.
The season at home is a 3-game series against the Salt Lake. Listen to the games all season long on Raider Nation Radio 920. Wake up with the morning tailgate with Clay Baker.
What's this?
On Raider Nation Radio 920. ARLP Las Vegas.
It's the JT the Brick Show. This is the silver and black. This is the Raiders. This is a historic franchise. This is no ordinary job. Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
I don't care if I offend something. If it isn't right, I'm going to stop practice. We're going to do it the right way.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Yes, I'm here. JT along with Clay Baker. We take you noon to 2 every day Pacific time, and that's 3 o'clock evening drive back east all over the globe on the Raiders mobile app. I am live on YouTube. We need to get more people on the YouTube channel. I'm getting pissed off. We got a really good show. We want people to see it. We want people to create it. We want people to share it. So we're live on YouTube for a reason. Growing the show, our advertisers, or our topics in general. Listen to the Must Listen monologue every day at noon, and then jump in 3 o'clock Eastern, and then you can watch it if you miss it exclusively on YouTube at JT the Brick. We got people in. Give me a shout out for everybody who's in YouTube from where you're from. Roberto Rodriguez from Dallas, Texas is in. Right? We got people from all over the country who jump in here every day, and they make it part of their watch cycle as you open up your phone, and you can watch it on X, or you can just find it on YouTube as we're ready to roll today. There's one thing I want to mention before we start the monologue today. It's with a heavy heart. There are 8 skiers who have passed away up in the Tahoe area. One is still missing, and that is a really big concern to me. I know that area really good. I ski up there almost every year. I've been up there for 10 years with the American Century Golf Tournament. It's just a place that is part of my life, Lake Tahoe and that region and that whole area. And I know it pretty well. It doesn't matter if I'm boating in the summertime or skiing in the winter. It's just a fantastic part of this country. And it's a tragedy that the avalanche came and 8 were killed. I actually yesterday tweeted out a video from my buddy Bobby who lives up there, and he was in his backyard and couldn't walk because of all the snow that was dumped on. So it was a very dangerous situation. We're praying for the families. I mean, 8 people die, then you multiply them by all their families and friends, And you can imagine how far that goes out. So for everybody in the Tahoe region, everybody who's been affected by that tragedy, it's a big deal. It's a very sad day today, and I'm sure there's a lot of people up in that area that we count on for what we do. Big Raider Nation country, big Niner country, great ski country, great boating, great snowboarding resorts. I mean, how many people I've met over my career that work in the resort regions there of Lake Tahoe on the California-Nevada border, and it provides a lot of jobs and gets our economy going. So I was watching that most of the morning on a text group with a bunch of friends who are connected to Tahoe, and it really hurts. So prayers to everyone involved there as we get going. Monologue is always brought to you by Golden Entertainment. We always talk about the Strat. That's kind of my home for March Madness. So if you're looking to get together with a bunch of like-minded guys and gals who are getting ready in that William Hill Sportsbook, great room rates, unbelievable PTs, wings, cold beer. All of our partners are involved with that. PTs fuels the monologue 5 to 7, midnight to 2. That's the best happy hour in town as we're ready to roll. A pretty cool thing happened last night. I was on the radio last night doing my night show, and Stephen A. Smith called in. He is the number one name in all of media, period. He's number one. He listens to me. He called in. You'll hear that conversation in a little while here. It's worth a replay here on the show. You don't often get Stephen A. Smith chiming in. You'll hear a little bit of that. Luke Easterling will join us coming up next hour. He is, or we might get to him this hour, depending on the schedule. He is a NFL draft insider. We'll dive into the draft and some of the needs, not just for the Raiders, but for every team out there. Remember, this is a full-service sports talk show. I'd be dead if I just talked Raiders every day. I can't do it. We got to talk sports, and we got to talk sports from February to July, right, about everything else here. So if you want to talk about your team, your needs, your quarterback scenario, anywhere around the country, chime on in and ask me, get into the chat, and we'll dive into that. And then Paul Gutierrez is going to join us coming up sometime in the 1 o'clock Pacific hour, because we want to dive into the Hispanic Hall of Fame where Ted Hendricks, Tom Flores, and Jim Plunkett got in. And that's a big deal, because Ted Hendricks and Tom Flores are already in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jim Plunkett is not. But every acknowledgement we can get for Jim Plunkett is a good thing. So we'll jump into that coming up here. I'm going to see Jim Plunkett on Friday. I'm off on Friday. I'm heading to the East Bay for a celebration of life for a very important person in all of our Raider life. I'll be emceeing it and helping out along with that. So I'm gone Friday. Back Saturday, heading up to the East Bay. So we'll have some programming here in place of me coming up on Friday. So that's where we're going. All right, what I want to talk about today in this monologue for Raider Nation, at least, is the offensive line. I tweeted out earlier today, and most of the people I think agree with me, that the biggest priority for the Raiders this offseason is their offensive line. It is the number one priority is the Raiders' offensive line. Nothing happens going forward unless this offensive line gets better. For everybody in the national media who would like to give the Raiders more credit, they're not able to give the Raiders more credit because they don't believe in the offensive line. It was one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. I think it was the worst offensive season in Raider history. If you want to nitpick and you want to go and look at a season a little bit different, more than another season, 1962, whatever year, the Andrew Walter year, whatever year you think it might be, let's not split hairs. Last season's offense was one of the worst offenses to ever wear the silver and black. It was terrible from most accounts. They fired the offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, because it was that bad. You don't fire the highest paid offensive coordinator ever in the history of the league before the final quarter of the season unless it's a disaster. And it was a disaster. And there were a lot of moving parts on why it was so bad. So I want to review that here and get your opinion on it by the end of the monologue, which means that's clue to dial now so you can get up when I need to take a breath in 15 minutes. 702-365-9200. So why was the offensive line so bad? The offensive line goes back to Alex Leatherwood. The offensive line goes back to all the offensive linemen who have been drafted since the team moved to Vegas. Okay, I'm just looking at the Vegas chapter. And it's been a nightmare trying to plug and play offensive linemen here. Whoever gets drafted as an offensive lineman for whatever reason, none of them live up to expectation. None of them. And I'm a fan of Jackson Powers Johnson. He hasn't lived up to the expectations of winning the Remington Award as the best center in college football. Now, I don't think all of that is his fault. I think that he ran into a regime led by Pete Carroll and his son, right? I've been very complimentary of Pete Carroll, very complimentary of Pete Carroll, and that will remain. Just like Rich Bisaccia, who stepped down as the Green Bay Packer special teams coach. I'm always complimentary to the coaches who are complimentary to me. That will never change. But Pete Carroll hired his son to be the offensive line coach, and it was a train wreck. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't communicate well with the players. We got word of that, but you didn't hear it from most of the offensive linemen. You didn't hear Colt Miller call a press conference or DJ Glaze talk about it. But now we could look back, and a lot of times when we look back at what happened, it's easier to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So they haven't drafted well. They haven't had really good coaching at that position. And the personnel that they have were not taught properly. You know, we've been spending a lot of time talking about teaching. Teaching is really important. And what I find interesting about the Raiders and their offensive line, if you go back to their greatest offensive line of all time, it was Highway 63 with Gene Upshaw and Art Shell, two Hall of Famers. There was some crossover with Jim Otto, the toughest football player to ever live, Mr. AFL. And then you move to the right side of that line, or whoever you wanted to talk about, George Bueller, John Vella, Henry Lawrence, a three-time Super Bowl champ, everybody who played on the offensive line for the Raiders. Bob Brown, one of the greatest offensive linemen ever played for the Raiders for a bit. They all did their job, and they played above their standard. Okay, they were either brought in via free agents or trades, they were drafted, and they were better than when they were drafted out of college. Pretty much all of them. John Vella, Henry Lawrence, they're not in the Hall of Fame, but they played at a Hall of Fame level at times on some of the greatest Raider teams of all time. The Raiders' offensive line as of late, and we're going to start now with the new regime led by Clint Kubiak and John Spytek working together. Everyone that they've drafted at the offensive line position has either not lived up to their status coming into the organization or has performed poorly. I think I'm accurate with that. I'll even go Colt Miller. I have to put him out because he's been injured too much. And that's a concern for me. Colt Miller's been injured a lot, to the fact that I can't pencil him in for 17 games, even though I know he's one of the best players on the team, one of the best players. I just hope he's healthy and ready to go. I mean, I never have to see Colt Miller ever play a preseason game or a practice. I need this guy healthy. I don't care what it's going to take. If he wants to be a gym rat, if he wants to go run laps, I'm a big fan of Colt Miller, really big, but he's got to be available. Okay, the most important aspect is you got to be available as a football player. So then I go through the list of all these other offensive linemen and the depth chart for the Raiders, and you can debate that none of these players are at a point where anybody's saying they are building towards a Pro Bowl career. The Raiders need to find Pro Bowl players and elite offensive line talent that could come in and play above their ability. You're going to be hearing me talk about that a lot. And that a lot has to do with teaching, better coaching, a better scheme, and who's going to play what position when it's all said and done. Looking back at last year from talking to Lincoln Kennedy, Kirk Morrison, Jason Horowitz, Vinny Bonsignore, Q Myers, go down the list with everybody. Okay, whoever you talk to or you trust as an NFL insider, it was wackadoodle that we didn't know, Clay, who the offensive line was going to be. I host a pregame show for this team for close to 30 years, and I would go to the torch to host the pregame show with no bleeping clue who was going to play on the game day on the offensive line. No idea. I'm pretty prepped up. I don't know many people who are prepped up more than me on game day, Clay, and I didn't know who was going to play on the offensive line, and that can't be good for one guy named Geno Smith and Chip Kelly if they don't know what they're going to have in front of them until maybe 48 hours or 24 hours before a game.
No, you're not. That means not everyone's on the same page or everything's going to be communicated effectively. You have to have those kind of stalwarts on the offensive line in order to have stability for the quarterback and for everything to run right. And when you don't, you see what happens.
So you're looking at players on this team, Caleb Rogers, Dalton Wagner, DJ Glaze, Jordan Meredith, Alex Kappa. Wow. I mean, Alex Kappa. Wow. I'll just leave it at that because I know he's friends with some people in the building still. But man, I call it like Alex Kappa money, what he got paid. And then we look at some of the other players who played on the offensive line up front, and you really had to scratch your head for Stone Forsythe, who everybody knew when he came here, the connection to the Seahawks and Pete Carroll wasn't really any good on any level of a grade thing, and he was playing valuable minutes. All of that now is wiped out like a hurricane tsunami. Wiped out, the wave hit the beach, it's gone. We are off that topic, man. We are off that topic on last year's offensive line. I don't need your phone call today to tell me how bad that offensive line last year was. I lived it. Yes, and Dave Dalby and Steve Wisniewski and Bruce Davis. Yes, great job with the chat. That's why you get on YouTube. You're kind of like executive researchers for me. So now we got to find out who's going to end up playing this upcoming year. I have no idea. So let's start with Jackson Powers Johnson, who by all accounts I like, and you like him. He didn't play much last year. He was injured, and he was fighting for a position every week. No one knew what really happened behind the scenes. No one has come out in public and said what happened to Jackson Powers Johnson. Was he sharp enough to call out the coverage? Was he quick enough? Was he in great shape? Did he know the system good enough? We do not know. That will have to come out on a podcast from Jackson Powers Johnson when he's comfortable doing it. I don't need to host that podcast. I like the guy. I would put him back at center in a tremendous offseason conditioning program and put him back at center and say, you were the best center in college. We're going to start you up again, start you up at center. And if you can win that position, great. If not, we're moving you to guard. Are we all good with that? Now, here's the upside and downside of that equation. This new regime might say, yeah, we don't think he's good enough to play guard or center. You did. You drafted him. We're new here. We're Clint Kubiak and our staff with John Spytek and Tom Brady. We're going to evaluate Jackson Powers Johnson and give him a fresh start. What I would do, and I'm not a executive on the scouting department or a coach, I would give Jackson Powers Johnson all the encouragement that he did not get here last year. He did not get the encouragement last year. He did not have guys come up to him and saying, you're our guy. We love you. You're our guy. He didn't. He showed up every day for practice with his helmet. I was there. I was at training camp, and he's sitting out. There were days he was sitting out with the twos. You got to rebuild him mentally. Not that and again, I want none of this taken out of context. Everything I'm saying lives on this YouTube and on this channel. You have got to decide what the future is with Jackson Powers Johnson. He's too valuable of a pick. Like Jack Bech, second-round pick on the roster. Jackson Powers Johnson, second-round pick on the roster. Too valuable to let go wasted. You've got to recoach him. You got to teach him. You got to get new coaches in here that will put their eyes on Jackson Powers Johnson and say, this guy is unbelievable. The former coaching staff, not regime. This isn't about John Spytek at all. This is about the former coaching staff, that were relieved of their services because the team had the worst record. You didn't do a good enough job with Jackson Powers Johnson. And maybe, as I said, Jackson Powers Johnson could be at fault at some level if he didn't play to the ability that they thought he could play at. But I would give him a fresh look. Do you agree with me on that topic? Very important topic. Do you agree with that or not? Because I can't handle people on Twitter who make no sense and say, start Jackson Powers Johnson at center. And, you have to back up why. You can't say because he was great in Oregon and college. He's a pro now. He was not evaluated to be a starting center on this team, the Las Vegas Raiders. He was not evaluated last year to be the starting center. Why? Yeah, I'm preaching. I'm going off. Because we don't know. We're not trainers. We're not medical staff. We're not coaches. So we try to stay in our lane. Right? I tried to, but I think I'm being pretty damn opinionated here that you got to do two things with Jackson Powers Johnson immediately before the combine. You got to sit him down. You got to get the coaches to look at the tape. You got to go back to his college tape. You got to go back to his camp tape and say, is he our center or not? If not, you got to go get a center. You cannot come up and pull up the training camp with this group of centers. No way. Mendoza will be running for his life. That's it. So you can spin it any way you want. We got to figure out who's going to be the starting center. Remember when we had Rodney Hudson, how good of a player he was? Barrett Robbins, he had some issues personally. Great player, unbelievable player. The Raiders have to get back to getting a center. The great teams of the Oakland Raiders and the Las Vegas Raiders had great centers who dictated coverage and blocking schemes and were really good at what they did. We don't have anything. As of now, we have a project in Jackson Powers Johnson who maybe shouldn't be a project. Maybe he should go back to center. That's above my pay grade. And it's probably above yours, but we're running a talk show. So I'd like to hear what you have to say. So center is a question mark. Then we go out to left tackle. We go out to left tackle and we get Colton Miller. There's not much to say. I mean, he's been on this team a long time. He's a leader. I think you bring him back and you start him, but you got to make sure you keep him healthy. I don't know what's been done in the past. He's got to be healthy. Okay, so get him up to speed cardio-wise, get his weight right. Saw him the other day at the presser. He looks great. What a great guy Colton Miller is. Just get him right. He's a veteran. He doesn't have to practice 6 days a week. He doesn't have to be the first guy in there, and he might be. So I'm gonna give Colton Miller as a lock. Then what else? What else? The guys who were drafted last year couldn't get on the field. The coach couldn't come to grips with his son to put some of the young guys on the field because their words, not mine, they didn't earn the job in practice. Wow. That's pretty hardcore, man. I interviewed Pete Carroll every week. I thought I did a damn good job. If you want to throw stones at it, you can talk about it, but it wasn't combative like, when are you going to fire your son? But Pete knew what was going on with his son and the offensive line. And every time I asked Pete Carroll about the offensive line in a meeting session on television radio, he said, who's ever the best players in practice are going to play. And he lost his job over it. I really do believe that. I believe that one of Pete Carroll's mistakes was he had a concept with the team that when they were really bad, that they were going to go practice during the week with shells on, and whoever showed up better on film was going to play. No. You didn't do that to Gene Upshaw and Art Shell. You didn't do that to Jim Otto if you didn't have a great practice and say, you're going to lose your job. That was the former coaching regime that you can call it head games, whatever you want to do, but they gave everybody in the offensive line the impression that if you don't play well in practice, you're not going to play. But then Stone Forsythe's playing, and Alex Kappa's playing, and young guards who were drafted right out of college, who were drafted to play, weren't getting on the field. Oh, boy. What happened there? Don't know. No one knows. Pete Carroll's team left. They had that Chip Kelly got fired. So you can gossip about it all you want. You don't know what the hell happened, neither do I. So then you look at Dylan Parham, the first ever. He was the COVID draft when he came in. Remember, the Raiders didn't have the first and second round pick because of Devontae. So Dylan Parham was drafted. I like Dylan. I sat with him at a big silver and black, huge event at Allegiant Stadium. He was great. I like Dylan Parham. I don't think he rewarded himself with a position here that's guaranteed, nor does anybody. So if you end up keeping Dylan Parham or he leaves, I don't know what's going to happen. I would recommend if he does leave and go somewhere else and play better, that would be a concern. And it goes back to my teaching issue that we have. Are these players being taught properly up front on how to play their best offensive line? And then if you go right guard and you want Jackson Powers Johnson there, I'm fine with that. If you want to go right tackle in free agency, no one more than JT the Brick in third person has been screaming about getting a right tackle in free agency more than me. I say it every year, and I'm amazed that we don't get a starting right tackle. If you think that DJ Glaze is good enough to pencil in at starting right tackle, I disagree with you. I think there are many players in this league better than DJ Glaze. But if DJ Glaze moves inside, because he's a mountain of a man, Clay, and you move him from right tackle to left guard, Clay Baker, do you have a problem with that if he earns that position?
He could do that. Why not? In fact, because he's so young,
Yes.
you have to think that the traits that he learned in Maryland can still be pursued out here. He played multiple positions in college. He could do that in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go into what we can potentially see from Caleb Rogers. Caleb Rogers is a project. He's a project, as Lincoln Kennedy would say. He was drafted to come in here and project to be blank. I don't know, projected to play? How about we get him on the field and see what happens? But by no means is his position completely locked in. So from what I've been saying here, and this is a deep dive, so cut and paste this on your YouTube page on the Raiders offensive line heading into the offseason. I'm very optimistic. And you might say, yeah, right. Did you hear his tone for 20 minutes? No, I'm optimistic that they're going to get it right. They have to get it right. Geno got destroyed at quarterback because of a lot of things, and some of it on him, but the offensive line did not help Geno Smith. We're going to get Fernando Mendoza in here as a rookie and play him. We have to build a wall around him. So I think the first pick is obvious. And then after that, I would only draft an offensive lineman if you knew instantly he was a starter as a rookie. And the only way you can guarantee that to me, or make it somewhat of a guarantee, is that you draft that offensive lineman with the first pick of the second round, the first pick, or you do what I would do, trade back into the first round, trade from the first pick of the second round, trade up to number 19, trade up to number 22, get the offensive lineman in the first round with Mendoza, and then all the best with the rest of your draft. If I can get out of the first day of the draft on Thursday with Mendoza and a rookie starter who's an animal on tape, I'm good. I don't care who you draft in the 5th or 6th round. They do. They'll let us know who they draft, and we'll interview them, and we'll pump them up, and we'll wish them the best. But that's what I think needs to happen. I think the sense of urgency for the Raiders to get to the combine and to find an offensive lineman in the draft that they believe is a starter, not a developing starter, not someone that they're going to throw in a bowl with Caleb Rogers and Dylan Parham and DJ Glaze. This guy's got to be better than those guys. New coach, new regime, greatness of the Raiders stuff here, everybody. We got to get a guy who's better than the guys we have on the roster. And if that happens, great. Remember last year we're taking quarterbacks with the last pick of the first round, or I'm like, who cares? He's not going to make the team. He's not going to play. I don't care about your 6th round pick if he's not going to make the team, or 7th round pick. I care of them about human beings and being Raiders, but we got to win here. So that's the monologue. What'd you think? 702-365-9200. What is the message you would send if you could to improve this offensive line? It is complex. This is a very complex equation I'm bringing up here for you to try to solve. It's not easy. Matter of fact, I think before this morning, before I dug into this to prep for the show, I even think I was taking the easy way out. I'm going on all these shows saying, well, the Raiders got to get 2 new offensive linemen in free agency. Who? I don't know. They just got to get 2. Well, who, JT? What? I don't know. They just got to get 2. They got to get 2 new starters in free agency and/or a trade. Yeah. Everybody's blown smoke about this Max Crosby potential trade. It could happen. I don't think it will. Again, I could be right. I'm normally right. I'm normally right about a lot of stuff, but people like to pick out when I swing and miss sometimes. We'll find out what happens with Max. I'll see him a week from Friday. But I think the big topic is, can you trade for an offensive lineman? Because Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, many people are saying that this isn't a great year for the draft, and it's not a great year for free agency. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. What do you mean? What do you mean? I got a guest on today. I'm going to interview. I'll ask him the same thing. Where do we get the better players who are not in the building? Where do we get them? The easy answer is to say the draft. Well, we'll draft the player. Good luck with that. Yeah, go draft an offensive line and put him up against Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and tell me how that goes. Get me players in here who can play I'm not asking for Penei Sewell. I'm not asking for an all-pro. I'm asking for someone who's played in the league 4, 5, 6 years, is under the age of 30, and can play on the offensive line. And another team might not want him because they have a better player, but he's better than the guys we have. That's what I see. 702-365-9200. Another ripping 27 minutes of me waiting for you. So I'm going to take a break to get a glass of water, and then I'm going to come back and see who's waiting here for me. Yeah, I'm fired up today. I think that now that Kubiak's in the building, they're announcing this coach, that coach. Welcome to the Raider Nation for all the new coaches. Now wheels are up. They're heading to the Combine next week to draft players, which will have to lead to one of the greatest drafts that the Raiders have. It better be the greatest draft in Las Vegas Raiders history, brought to you by Modelo.
Wake up with the morning tailgate.
The intriguing part
There it is. That's 28 minutes of anything better than you'll hear all day. I can promise you that. So let's keep it rolling.
in his time in the National Football. Jake Delhomme helped him to his first Pro Bowl, Super Bowl appearance with the Carolina Panthers. You got Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers. He has really seen every kind of quarterback.
The morning tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders and Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly. This is JT from the Black Hole, home of football's most notorious fans. If you're a diehard Raider fan, this is...
Mike Evans is a great player, man, but, is that Kylie or Kyle? He's at the end of his career, man. That's an old receiver that's been banged up. I mean, I like Mike Evans. Mike Evans makes a lot of money, and he's way past his prime, even though he's a good player, very good player. But, Mike Evans 8 years ago compared to now, I don't agree with that. But there is a connection to Spytech, right, in his time in Tampa, so maybe they like him.
You're a top athlete, weekend warrior, junior athlete, or simply someone who's living in everyday pain. I have the knowledge and expertise to get you back to doing what you love most. My colleagues and I at Corvetti Orthopedics are committed to personal attention, state-of-the-art treatments, and most importantly, successful.
All right. No callers on hold. Nice slap in the face, right? I come in here all fucking day, ready to work, ready to get this thing moving, do a great monologue, and everybody's just staring at the walls. All right. 30 years ago, I got on Sports Fan Radio at 1 a.m. and had 9 phone lines full. I'm better than I've ever been, and we wait around for people to react. I don't get it, man. I don't get it, but
This isn't just a
I do what I do, man. I do what I do.
and jobs.
What's my blood pressure? My blood pressure is very good, man. That's why. Worked out this morning. Everything's fine. Thank you for asking.
Garage.com/careers.
All right, so we got Mel. So you want to do that? We have that Rappaport on the O-line. Okay.
It's like 38 seconds. It says about what they need to do on season.
For 90 days. You really can drive now and pay later. At One Nevada, we offer freedom from payment stress and more money in your pocket. So you spend less time worrying about financing and more time enjoying the drive. Check out the benefits of a One Nevada auto loan today at onenevada.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
All right, let's do this.
The Vegas Golden Knights are rolling through another epic season. And there's nothing more refreshing than an ice-cold Surfside to enjoy while you cheer on your Knights on the ice. Surfside is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and 0 bubbles.
Hockey on today? Do we have Olympic hockey on?
So
I'm getting
seize the
some.
sim and enjoy.
Some.
It's not seltzer, it's Surfside, official partner of the Vegas Golden Knights. Sold in arena and at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Power Shift by NV Energy is all about taking savings to the next level. Check it out. These products and services save energy and money. There are discounts and rebates on energy-efficient devices and free smart
skate
thermostats.
relays.
Take savings to the next level at nvenergy.com/powershift. Power Shift by NV Energy. This is what we do.
It's your multi-platinum spring break rock throwback. Puddle of Mud with special guest Eve Six live at M Resort Saturday, March 21st. One night, one week, an exclusive show. Doors open at 8 p.m. Tickets available now at Ticketmaster.com or the M Resort box office. Puddle of Mud, Eve 6, Saturday, March 21st at M Resort.
Raider Nation, hey, you. Are you Raider Nation Radio
That's funny.
920 AM. All the content you expect from Raider Nation Radio 920 will be right there. Make sure to turn on your notifications for YouTube and be notified anytime that we go live. Again, at Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, our brand new YouTube page. Subscribe to it today.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
They motion everyone to the left, one-on-one for Bowers. Here comes the blitz. Geno sees it, lobs towards the end zone. Bowers shoved to the ground.
Still got it. It's a challenge. Got it.
Oh my God! Bowers made the grab on his backside. One of the toughest catches you'll ever see. Brock Bowers on the turf caught it with his one hand, and he smothered it into his chest. Wow! That is Brocktimus Prime, and that is a Raiders touchdown.
Yes, Brocktimus Prime, as Jason Horowitz likes to say. JT, back with you. Hope you're having a great day today. We are brought to you by our great friends at the DeCastroverde Law Group, Alex and Orlando DeCastroverde. Man, these two are incredible. Their law group is sensational. They do an amazing job. If you get into an accident and you're injured, Brothers Win, thebrotherswin.com. Give them a call, 702-222-9999. Look, I don't want you to get into an accident. When I'm driving around town, it's like NASCAR. It's like bumper cars. And if you get injured in an accident, get to the side of the road, get safe. Okay, don't start talking to people. It's the Castroverde brothers, Alex and Orlando. They've been doing this a long time, built on the great legacy of their father. And they will help you, and that will be the key. 702-365-9200 if you want to get in here as we open up the show on the Raiders offensive line. Yeah, I was a little worked up today. In the monologue coming in on the offensive line because there's a lot of bad talk going on with the Raiders now. I think one of the things that I like to do is come in and kind of protect the Raider realm. And, for everybody's saying, like Ian Rappaport's on, talking about this offensive line from last year. Tell me if this sounds similar to what I said in the monologue.
They got great weapons. I think the offensive line was coached horrendously last year. They're going to play better because they'll be better coached. If you were to say to me, like, what's their offseason look like? I would think it looks like the Commanders' offseason from 2 years ago, where they spend in free agency, but it's a lot of like mid-level guys to make up for some bad drafts. So like just fill the roster with pretty good players. And like here's the real problem. And again, like you kind of just said it. We've seen teams turn around so quickly. Like every year there's a couple worst to first. So like if you're the Raiders, like this is what they're thinking, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So what he said was they're going to fill in a lot of needs because the Raiders don't have much depth. But I have the answer to the depth on the offensive line. The Raiders are going to keep Caleb Rogers and DJ Glaze and all that. Get better players, and those guys become really good depth. And they should have the right to compete to be a starter. I don't know who's going to be here, but let me give you a couple of players. Let me give you three players. Caleb Rogers, DJ Glaze, and Dylan Parham. Let's just stick with those three. Let's assume for today, because there's no guarantee, but today all three of them come back. If all three of them don't start and they move to backups, oh my God, the Raiders got a really good offensive line because they're going to have better players starting, and the guys who are backing up are former starters. Former starters who we know can play. They're not elite, but they can play. Last year, the Raiders had no depth, and they had no confidence in their depth to put in their younger players who they drafted to play on the offensive line. Now that changes. Let's get out to the elite Raider out in Oakland, Oaktown. What's happening?
Hey JT, how you doing? Long time listener, first time.
Thank you.
I'm out there. I'm in your chat right now on YouTube.
Oh, thank you.
I'm calling. Yeah, definitely. Calling because look, it comes down to when it comes to the offensive line. If you understand Kubiak and Shanahan, that entire model, how they run their offense and their offensive scheme, the offensive line is totally based on that. Nothing more. Not who we like as a fan base, who we want as free agents when it comes down to who specifically understands this wide zone concept and who can dominate from it. If Linderbaum does not dominate in zone, in wide zone, he's coming to the Raiders. The Raiders want a power dual blocking on offensive team. So I'm saying, I'm kind of like get Raider fans to understand it is predicated on this team, not who we think we should get. Or whether that be free agency or in the draft.
No, you bring up a great point. You're talking about the scheme. Is it going to be a power blocking scheme? Is it going to be zone blocking? I've always liked the power blocking. I've always liked the bump and run on defense, man to man. I always just like when players play one-on-one against other players and are able to beat them. But a lot of people, especially coming from the Denver tree, if you follow the Denver Broncos over the years, Denver loves the zone blocking technique, and the Raiders switch off from it every couple of years. You better believe that's a very important point you're bringing up. What scheme are they going to choose on when they start teaching this offensive line?
Absolutely, and if you look at everywhere he's went, it has been the wide, one cut, wide toss, the power tosses. All that stuff is going to be what we see out here in the upcoming season. So I'm just saying that's what it's predicated on. It's predicated on the coaching. It's not about who we like as fans. So I just hate when I see our Raider Nation get all juiced up and pissed off when they don't think who we think we should have. No, it's based on this team. Going back from Terrell Davis to Clinton Porter. All those guys who were big-time runners, from Arian Foster, who are big-time runners in that.
Yeah.
McCaffrey right now. That's how they're going to use Jenkins, which is his capacity to catch and the way he runs wide zone, the way he can set up blockers. That's what was so frustrating to me as a fan to watch last year and how they ran the ball. You didn't give him the ability to do what he does best, which is set up his block to make, he leans one way, he gets the safety coming down and get him leaning. That's what this wide zone concept to be able to do for action is going to be big for us. So I'm
hey, elite Raider. How you been, man? I need guys like you, man. I need guys like you. Oh, I'm sorry. I love it.
I'm a wife.
Even better. Women are smarter than men. My wife is 10 times smarter than me. So I love this. So
I'm a great athlete, though. I'm a local girl here who went to Skyline High School, who went to UC University. I'm a great athlete, so I know what it takes. I know what it looks like, and all those things. I played professional basketball. People in the chat might know. I went by Elite Man. I love radio. I love what you do.
Wow. You should. Well, let's make you more of a regular, the Elite Raider, now from Oakland. And I'm thrilled to have you here. You sounded great. That is a well-positioned phone call. I needed that, man. I was struggling today. I bust my ass every day looking for people to call in like that, and you knocked it out of the park.
You get that for me every time I call. Every time I call. Elite with the heat is what they used to call me, because every time I call, I'm going to bring that heat 110%, JT. And I'll be an honor and a pleasure.
Yes, and you played basketball. I'm watching this ABA documentary on the Oakland Oaks. The Oakland Oaks with Rick Barry back in the day and the ABA and Dr. J. And I'm fascinated about the years in Oakland. So Skyline, you're an elite Oakland athlete from back in the day, man. I love this.
JT. And I'm going to call in. I'm making a regular, man. I love talking Raiders.
Good. Thank you.
Season ticket holder at the Collie. I live down the street from the Collie. I could hear the game from where I live.
Oh, wow. Well, you just made my day. Thank you so much. I needed this. Appreciate that, man. The elite Raider. That was good. That didn't take much to make my day. A Tito's, a cigar, maybe a Modelo, my wife, my kids. I'm a pretty simple guy. I just want this thing to be great. I don't want it to be good. So I take this very seriously. It's not chicken wing talk. It's not like, hey, Clay, what'd you do last night for 20 minutes? Maybe I should do more of that. I come in here to work. I try to come in here to work and talk sports. But that was really good. She calmed me down today, Clay. It's very nice when you discover, when you hear the first time, long time in sports radio, because we've been doing this forever. JT, last night I had a caller, 25 years listening, first time. I'm like, first time?
First time.
In a quarter century. What would it take so long?
I want to give you an Academy Award. I mean, this is one of the great calls. I was like inspired by where she was going and the passion behind it. That's what I love to hear on a Wednesday.
So these program directors, we have a good one here. Q's a great host, so he does a grind, man. You want to talk about a guy who grinds? Q grinds, but I grind. I just turned 60 and I'm doing 5 hours a day still. My wife's like, really? Well, yeah. What am I going to do? I don't want to watch Netflix. I want to be on the radio still, even though there's going to be a timeout coming here for me. I'm just trying to figure out my schedule because we got Mendoza Mania. We got free agency. So I'm trying to look at all this. Going to see my mom and dad in Florida next week, at the end of next week. So we got a lot to cover. I think it's going to be one of the more important off seasons we've had in quite some time. Hey, coming up next, my conversation with Stephen A. Smith. If we have time for that, I think we do. Stephen A. called in last night. He had some nice words to say and compliments, and I think you'll love that. Not often do you hear Stephen A. Smith on an AM radio station in Southern Nevada. You'll hear that coming up and on the YouTube channel at JT the Brick YT. Man, the Elite Raider. Man, she was good.
See the chicken fingers of the Vegas Golden Knights. Go Knights, and remember, game days taste better with Raising Cane's tailgates. Order a Raising Cane's tailgate and jugs of fresh squeezed lemonade, your favorite game day tradition. And remember, Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's. I will give you a Raising Cane's.
Golden Knights in the postseason. Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love.
Patty Davidson here from BetMoneyHoney.com. Like to become an educated sports fan that also knows how to place a bet? How about a library?
You don't feel comfortable rolling out Mendoza in the preseason or even week one? Well, you better get comfortable, Mr. Moj, because he's going to be, or Mr. Mole, if I got that, he's going to be the starter. So you're not going to be comfortable the whole time he plays. He's a rookie. It's going to be uncomfortable. But all you got to do is support him. It's not going to be perfect. We know that. Preston's going to listen to the Grant Napier show. Please tell Grant I said hello. Grant got the raw end of a deal. Grant got the raw end of a radio deal from the Sacramento Kings back in the day. A lot of that had to do with Boogie Cousins, if you know what I'm talking about. But Grant, when he worked with the Raiders and was calling the preseason games, I was the sideline reporter. So we go back a long way.
MP Foundation.
Glade Center of Southern Nevada.
Hope for the City.
Cheyenne High School. Baby's Bounty.
The Secret Santa Project.
And many more.
Hi, this is Paul Pata from Paul Pata Law, where compassion and
Your
strong
first row is how are you? You want to see that one?
No, I want,
you want to hear the first question? It's about the NBA All-Star game.
Go to paulpatalaw.com.
Raider Nation, it's JT. I partnered with
I
Charles
really struggled. I was on Sunday,
It's the
but at
official
the end of
bourbon
the
whiskey of the
All-Star
Black
game,
Hole
I saw
and the
the
Las
older
Vegas Raiders.
USA
It wasn't your
team
game
play
day
the
whiskey.
younger.
It is
When I
now.
wanted to see the
Raise a
Euros
bottle at your next
involved in the final
tailgate and
quarter, I
toast to
didn't
the
want
silver and black.
4
The limited edition
one-quarter
Black Hole
games. I
bottle is
wanted a
now
complete
available
basketball
at
game start to finish.
WatsonWhiskey.com. Use the promo
Well,
code
that's true, and I
JT
mean,
at
we
checkout
did pick
for
about it.
15%.
So I wanted that part where he said he's the show I listen to at night. You have that?
What's up, Big John?
Yeah.
Not true. I was on the road, traveling back to the States.
Okay, let's pick it up from there. What's up, Big Time?
Love with him than anybody. Must have been listening to something that got him going tonight.
Yeah, that would be good. Stephen A. Smith, and I'll just throw to that. Thank you.
And the schedules that are happening here in our valley. I'm proud to be associated with the 872 fellow partners in my show and Raider Nation Radio.
Australia's biggest sport hits Vegas. Rugby League Las Vegas, Saturday, February 28th at Allegiant Stadium. 3 games, Aussie vibes, 1 epic ticket. Lock in your seat now at nrl.com/Vegas. Rugby League Las Vegas. Let's go.
Hey, babe, where are you going?
Fantastic indoor swap meet.
The swap meet? I love Fantastic. Can I come along?
Sure, if you bring your wallet.
What are we shopping for?
everything. They've got everything, and it's a lot more fun than shopping online.
Okay, let's spend the afternoon. It's just over on Decatur and Okie.
You know, Fantastic's open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 to 6. And like they say, it's fantastic.
And like they say, we've got it.
Big news, Las Vegas! PT's Taverns just changed the game. Introducing all new progressive jackpots linked across 65 PT's Taverns locations. We're talking both dollar and quarter progressives that hit on royal flushes and 4 aces with a kicker. Plus Keno progressives that hit on 7 and 9 spots. And here's the best part. Our 10-spot Keno progressive pays up to $200,000. All progressives exclusively available at PT's Taverns. Video poker links may vary between taverns. Check with your tavern bar host for details.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
Eno Smith under center again. Bowers motions right to left. They're going to throw. Looking for Bowers. He does the other way. Tucker's open at the 25. Flags fly streaking down the sideline. Inside the 5. Touchdown, Tucker. If it holds, it is a 31-yard fourth down touchdown. Oh, it's not going to hold.
JT, back with you, keeping an eye on the big hockey game. If the U.S. wants to advance to play Canada, they're taking on Sweden. No score at the end of 1. Last night, I'm hosting my show. Stephen A. Smith ends up calling in. Here it is.
What's up, big time? That is not true. I was on the road traveling back to the city, and I said that I needed to call in my man to let him know that when I'm on the road and I'm listening to radio at night, there's only one show I listen to, and that's JT the Brick. That's all I called to let you know about. How you doing, my man? How's everything?
I couldn't be better. I really struggled. I was on Sunday when at the end of the All-Star game, I saw the older USA team play the younger. When I wanted to see the Euros involved in the final quarter, I didn't want 4 one-quarter games. I wanted a complete basketball game start to finish.
Well, that's true. And I mean, we can nitpick about it. There's no question about it. It would have been great to see the world versus whether it's the old heads or the young heads or whatever. But in the end, let's face reality. We're all relieved because at least we got effort, which was the first time that we received effort from the All-Stars in the NBA in years. And the fact that we finally got that from them, beggars can't be choosy. Hopefully they will continue on the trend in the right direction. Hopefully there won't be 3 different teams. It'll just be 2. That's all that's needed. USA versus the world. And you have 1 48-minute game and call it a day to simplify things and go that route. But anything to get these guys to give effort, that was the most important thing. Shame on them that it had to get to this point where we're just simply applauding effort because we're not asking for them to compete like they're in the regular season or they're in the playoffs. Just give us what you'd give us if we were watching you work out in the summertime. Give us at least that. And for the first time in recent memory, they did that. So I was really happy about it.
What did you particularly see that you said, wow, this is better than I thought? Was it Anthony Edwards who you've been talking about, or was it Wembanyama, or a combination of multiple players?
Combination of those two. Definitely it starts with Wembanyama because he stated before the competition, and this is why he's going to be not just a superstar, but a very likable one, because he talked about how he was going to go out there and give effort, and he had hoped that it would serve as an inspiration to his all-star colleagues to do the same. But then he said, JT, if they don't do it, then I'll do it myself. That's what he said before the game. Then comes out and promptly scores the 3 points, blocks a couple of shots, and puts everybody on notice. He ain't playing around. He's here to make sure that cats are going to play or they're going to get embarrassed. And as a result, Anthony Edwards stepped up and he told you that Wembanyama inspired him. And believe it or not, I mean, we didn't know this was possible, but Kawhi Leonard looked inspired. He looked enthused, and he looked absolutely awesome for a period while it was going on. Nobody anticipated that would happen. LeBron James played well, gave more effort than he did in a previous All-Star game or 2. So all of those things considered, you got to give credit where credit is due and just be grateful for that.
Were you impressed with the way Adam Silver handled the State of the Union when he talked about Utah and Indianapolis, Indiana? Were you good with that when he talked about his concerns with tanking? Was that enough for you?
Yes, it was, because to me, JT, I'm not that concerned with tanking. I'm concerned with load management. That's my concern. See, when I think about tanking, all right, did San Antonio tank in the '90s to get David Robinson? In the '80s, rather, yeah. Did they tank in the '90s to get Tim Duncan? Yeah. Did they tank just recently to get Wembanyama? Yeah. We've seen teams tank before when it was a prized possession and you're positioning yourself to get just that. We understand that. What we will never get over is your healthy scratches from the game. And just to get rest, you get paid 9 figures, and you're mandating before the season even begins that you're going to miss 20 to 25 games a year. Or you're the Los Angeles Lakers and 5 starters ain't playing. Or you're Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors and 3 starters, including Draymond and Steph, don't play. See, that's the kind of stuff that's hard to take. But in the same breath, you know this just as well as I do. When it comes to load management, players ain't the biggest culprit. The biggest culprit in all of this was Greg Popovich, who instigated it years ago because of his disdain for Commissioner Stern in terms of what Commissioner Stern wanted from teams in the league and players in terms of them playing back to backs and all of this. So he made his own statement, and he was a curmudgeon about it, and was very dismissive towards Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, which is the kind of thing that really, really ticks people off. So it's not just the players to blame for that. It was definitely a guy like Greg Popovich who's instigated it. It's guys like Steve Kerr and others who followed suit. But in the end, load management is very, very important. While none of it is desirable, load management is very, very different than tanking, because you're trying to position yourself to get a high draft pick when you're not some mediocre team getting a lower draft pick and you're incapable of truly improving the destiny for your team.
Last one, I never miss a 60 Minutes. That's part of my dad when I was growing up. And I never miss CBS Sunday Morning because I love their features on music, history. They dive deep into topics. You've been on with Bill Maher recently, a lot of other platforms. How did you think CBS This Morning handled that? You looked like that was a great experience and interview for you as you talked about politics and aspirations. But I'm happy you got in the stories about your mom and your family and where you came from. Did you feel like that was something you wanted to do, and did you like the result?
They had to interview me. They had been pursuing me for a while, and I finally said yeah. And I was pleased with the interview. They asked me a lot of different things because there's a lot of different things that are obviously on my mind. I've been through a lot over the last several years. Nothing anybody else hasn't been through. But losing my mother in 2017 was a very, very devastating blow that I don't know if I'll ever get over. But I know that her presence in my life, in my world, even though she's gone, will never end. And she's an inspiration to me, and a lot of things that I want to do are the kind of things that I talk to her about it. Everybody's convinced that I want to run for politics. I should run for politics because I said I'll leave the door open, because there's a lot of people that say we need people with common sense as opposed to being so divisive and unwilling or incapable of bringing people together. But I really, really, really like my life. I like my life working in sports. I like my life working for ESPN, 2 different shows on Sirius XM, 1 sports, 1 political. And I'm living a very fruitful and beautiful life. And I sincerely doubt that I'll ever run for office. But you'll compromise that by running for office, because if you're going to run for office, you'd have to give that up. If I didn't have to give that up, that would be a different animal. But having to give all of that up, along with the financial benefits that come along with it, I'm very, very hard-pressed to do. But I like talking about different things, and I like leaving the doors of possibility open, because you never know what God has planned. And that's what the bottom line is. So I'm very happy about all of that.
Thank you, my friend. Good seeing you in San Francisco. Hope to see you next time you come to Vegas. All the best. Continued success.
All right, buddy. Same to you. Take it easy.
All right. That's Stephen A. Smith. Hope you enjoyed that. He's going to run for president. I think he should. I don't know if he'll win or not. I think there's a lot of really bad politicians, terrible people running for office. He is clearly being advised right now to consider a run for the presidency. You might laugh. I'm not saying I'd vote for him or you'd vote for him. We don't do politics on this show, but he would obliterate anybody on a debate stage. Obliterate them. That has a lot to do with winning, right? Primaries and all that. He would obliterate them. So I like Stephen A. He's a friend, and nice that he called in. So that's hour number 1. Paul Gutierrez is confirmed for hour number 2. Paul's up to date on the coaches. I think he did a podcast today already for the Raiders. The NFL Hispanic Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll get to that. With him, we got a big show lined up. We're brought to you by the M Resort. They got 2 towers now. 2's better than 1. I love going over there. Parking's easy. The restaurants are fabulous. Summertime's great in the pool and all their concerts. All right, let's stay in the chat.
Bingo card for over.
Stay in the chat here. Let me spend a minute on the chat.
Dello is an official sponsor of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Dello Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager to bring a crisp, refreshing taste. Brewed with fighting spirits since 1925.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black.
Always bet on black. All right, how we doing here in the chat? Let me scroll down. Oh man, I didn't know I missed this many people. Snowing in Summerlin. Is it snowing in Summerlin? No, it's not snowing in Summerlin. I don't think so. Mountain's got covered. Vegas tailgating's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. I go inside, man. Nothing will ever compare to the Oakland tailgate, but I don't live in the past. I got great memories in Oakland, but I live in Vegas now, and that's where we play games. Oh, my God, you just turned me off because I don't talk politics? I said I had Stephen A. Smith on, you idiot. You complete idiot. What do you think I was going to talk about? Stephen A. Smith is potentially running for president. I said I wouldn't vote for him, or maybe you wouldn't. So why don't we get rid of this clown who can't handle that? That's a triggered political troll who doesn't believe in other people's opinions. So let's just ban that asshole and get them out of here. Ban and delete. Oh, you're going to turn me off because I had the biggest guest in all of media on, Stephen A. Smith? And at the end, I mentioned that he's running for president. Good. Get the hell off the show. It is a brickocracy. I am the Bricktator. This is for fun. This is live stream for fun, man. Oh, tomorrow, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. tomorrow, Damon Bruce and I will be live streaming. The great D. Bruce. He's got a big YouTube channel because he runs his broadcast off his YouTube. We're going to be on at 10 a.m. There's the Bricktator. There it is.
Gotta get a new job.
Like on both?
Yeah, I'll tell him to call us.
I can call him.
Okay. Yeah, I'd wait till 1:05.
My brother got his CDL license in 4 weeks, and now he has a new career making great money.
Okay, I'm listening.
TruckU offers small classes with night and weekend times available. They will even help with payment programs. Check them out. The letter U.com. TruckU.
The Bricktator.
This is JT from Las Vegas.
So many people are moved by politics. You know, Looney and I just did a true crime podcast on Nancy Guthrie just to talk about it. And, you know, you mentioned politics and what channel you watch, and then people go ballistic. I mean, if anybody on this chat is triggered by politics, man, go for a walk. Go for a walk. Go to the gym. Go to a movie. I've never woken up any day in my life and gave a crap about who the president was, my senator, my congressman. It's never crossed my mind. I get up every day and work. The president or my senator doesn't get me up to work.
Just get out every day, take one step at a time, and you keep going and you show up. We have a big mountain to climb, but we're not trying to do it all in one day.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
It's really important to me that we're a gritty team, that the way that they were back in the old days. It's nothing that we say, it's what we do on the field. All the little things that win that have nothing to do with scheme.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Yes, it's hour number 2. It's a 2-hour show every day. It repeats on YouTube at JT the Brick. You can follow it there. And we are brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. Have you checked out their menu lately? I mean, I'm the box combo guy. You know, I like a box combo. My kids are Caniacs, so they like the Caniac combo. You can get the sandwich combo. A lot of times my sons will order a big meal, Clay, and then they'll order a kids combo on the side because the regular combo, they want a little bit more there. And then the drinks are fantastic. I can't choose between the lemonade and iced tea. Two of the best I ever had, the buttery Texas toast, Raising Cane's, the plush puppies, everything they do for us. Proud partner of the show. I just had a beautiful meeting with the staff and some of the hierarchy over at Cane's, which went really well. And they like what we do, and we love what they do for us. And they're really a big part of what we're doing. Paul Gutierrez will join us in a little bit. And Luke Easterly, who's a really good NFL insider. So I went off in the first 20 minutes of the show on what I think the Raiders have to do with the offensive line. They have to hit a massive home run. They're going to get a home run with Clint Kubiak. I think that was the coach that they wanted. A lot of other coaches couldn't wait to get Kubiak, so they couldn't risk it because I think they knew the Raiders wanted him. So the Raiders got their guy. They got their guy. And then they're going to get Fernando Mendoza, by all accounts. That's pretty good. We know they're going to get free agents. We know they're bringing in new coaches that we seem to think are good coaches. We say that about all coaching staffs, but this one's a little bit younger. And Kubiak's bringing in the people he's comfortable with. We're all into that. But then it comes down to what home runs do they have to hit? I'm not a big believer that the Raiders have to hit a home run with every pick. They don't have to. I've said you can talk about the Raiders bringing in 12, 13, 14 new players. Whatever you think the number is, you do you. But we need some starters on the offensive line because I think if the offensive line is vastly improved, then in the shotgun, Mendoza will get the ball out quickly. He's really good at that. Like he'll go through his progressions. If you want Mendoza to go through 6 reads as a rookie, that's asking too much. But if you want Mendoza to get the ball out quickly to Brock Bowers, I think he'll do that. If you want him to throw a deep ball and maybe move a little bit in the pocket, he could do that. Throw a screen to Ashton Genty. I think he's going to do that a lot. Love to know the future of Michael Mayer. Because if Michael Mayer's there, remember, Mendoza was the best quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner. 3-4 years ago, Michael Mayer, along with Brock Bowers, we had the 2 best tight ends in all of college. They combined for 3 Mackey Awards. Bowers won 2, and you're looking at a really good one overall. I like Michael Mayer a lot, but I never know about his future because I don't think he's been treated great. I don't think Michael Mayer has been used properly. I've been saying that from day one. If I was the coach of Michael Mayer, I'd be getting him the ball all the time. They don't know how to do that around here. Maybe the new regime does. They might love him. Paul Gutierrez joins us over at the Raiders, Raiders.com. He's got a lot happening here. Let's jump in first on this Latino Sports Hall of Fame with Hendricks, Plunkett, and Tom Flores. Can you take us behind the scenes of that? What is that, and how big of an honor is it for those gentlemen?
Yeah, I can, JT. Thanks for having me on. And I got to go into my Mick Cronin voice here. Are you raising your voice at me? Are you raising your voice at me?
Oh, that was. Did you see Cronin last night? I was on live, and I knew the reporter didn't raise his voice. The reporter's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You raised your voice." I said, "Oh boy, this is not going to end well." Okay.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, in describing this, maybe my voice may raise a little bit of how excited I am. I'm a selector. I'm one of 9 selectors to help select the inaugural class of this brand new Hispanic Football Hall of Fame. There's the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame. There's the Black Football Hall of Fame. And this year is the first year of it. So, we were basically tasked with choosing. It was a daunting task with a 7-member class. And the fact that 3 Raiders are in it, they're all no-brainers to me. I mean, Jim Plunkett, who should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Tom Flores, who is, and Ted Hendricks, who is as well. And kind of the cool thing about it and seeing it is that not a lot of people realize that Ted Hendricks, his mother was Guatemalan. He was born in Guatemala City and spoke a little bit of Spanish when he played. So in talking with Tom, talking with Jim, and writing the story, the column, my opinion piece on it, it was just one of those labors of love. And it was an honor and privilege to not only help select it, but also to write about it and to be in the building and to talk to these guys. I mean, when they were, Ted wasn't here last week, but Jim was, and all those legends were here to welcome Clint Kubiak. 13-year-old me, JT, was freaking out because I'm sitting at a table with Howie Long, Marcus Allen, and Jim Plunkett talking about such things of when they played. And, 13-year-old me, that's when they went. That was my favorite team. Those guys were my heroes growing up and watching them win the Super Bowl that year. So the Hispanic Football Hall of Fame is a well past its time. It should have happened a long time ago. But to be able to do this, it's not just a one-shot deal. It's going to be going on in perpetuity going forward. There'll be a new class every year. I'm not sure how long will be on this board, but I'd love to do it as long as they'll have me. And there'll be some others. There'll be a Max Montoya will probably be on there. Joe Cap, who somebody that I thought deserved more than a courtesy look this first time. So there's guys that have been out there that have done it. And in covering the NFL and being one of the few Latinos who actually do cover the NFL, it's interesting to look back. And it wasn't that long ago when you thought of a Latino in the NFL, you thought of the kickers. Now they've been around. We've been around for a long time. So to shine a light on a community that, especially these days, kind of lives in the shadows. It's really, really fun and just rewarding to be able to do those kinds of things.
Paul Gutierrez is our guest. So how did it come about? Was this Jim Porter? Was this rumbling for a while? What was the decision process? Because it seems like it's long overdue. It's a slam dunk now. How did it finally get to the finish line where they'd have an inaugural class?
Yeah, so like I said, there was already a Polynesian Hall of Fame, and there's the Blackfoot College Hall of Fame as well, and it just kind of was a brainchild of that. And they're like, okay, well, what's the next community we should do? We should look at. So it's been more than a year in the making. I got the phone call last April. It was right around the time of the draft when they asked me if I'd consider serving as a selector. I'm like, say less. I'm in. And so that's my involvement with it. It's been something that has been thought of for a while, and they've put the funding together and they've created it. Now the next step is finding an actual factual home.
Yes.
The association itself is based in Las Vegas, and it makes all the sense in the world considering the Raiders are here and the Raiders' commitment to diversity and inclusion and the history. I mean, 3 members right off the bat are of the 7-member class, which also includes Anthony Munoz, Ron Rivera, Steve Van Buren, and Tom Fears. So when you're able to look at that and say, wow, that first class, no brainers, all of them. But you also got, like I said, Joe Cap. You got Max Montoya. You've got other guys that were playing in the NFL before it was the NFL in the 1920s, guys that deserve to be recognized as well. So from my perspective, to be able to kind of help shine that light on it, it's great. They actually are going to have, and this is the cool thing about it, on Cinco de Mayo, obviously, after the draft, the actual induction ceremony is going to take place here in Las Vegas at some point.
Wow.
At some place. And the Raiders are being asked to be heavily involved, and it's going to be a really, really cool situation.
Absolutely.
To be here for that, and all these guys are going to get their flowers, and it's to be included with the Raiders is going to be a really phenomenal situation as well.
That's great. Anthony Munoz is one of my all-time favorite guests and friends for 20 years or more on Radio Row. He's just one of the best human beings I've ever met is Anthony Munoz, and thrilled that he's in this class. I want to get your big picture on the coaches. You get a linebacker coach, a safety coach, and all that, and I focus basically on the DC and the offensive coordinator and the head coach. But I was really happy for Robbie Leonard when we were in the kitchen area there before the press conference. He was there when you were talking to Howie and Marcus, and I spent a good 20 minutes with him on a lot of different topics. I think the world of him, and I told him that I think he'll be a head coach in one of these next couple of cycles. I also said the same thing to Patrick Graham, who was a finalist for Jacksonville before Liam Cohn got that job, and he ended up going to Pittsburgh. What is the upside here with Rob Leonard? A lot of people want to tie Max to him. That's low-hanging fruit, but what he could do to put his stamp on this defense.
Yeah, that to me is probably the most intriguing hire that Clint has made thus far. I mean, in a week's time, he's already got 7 guys that are there, and he's got the offense coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams, receivers, safeties. But when it comes to Rob Leonard, that to me is interesting and intriguing because there's continuity there, right? So he understands what it means to be in this building. He understands what it means to look at this roster. Now, you go back a couple of days, and I would have thought, well, if you got Clint Kubiak as a first-time head coach, he's going to be the play caller. It's going to be his offense. You'd think that he would want, as Kirk Morrison told me at one point, a defensive manager, somebody that's done it before, somebody that understands what that pressure is like and where it goes from there. Well, you take that away, and you're like, well, he kind of is because he's already been here for a couple of years. He understands the personnel. I'd love to sit down with Robbie and just ask him, are you a 4-3 guy? Are you a 3-4 guy? Are you a multiple guy? Or are you a zone, a nickel in base? Just to kind of figure that out. And who are his mentors? Patrick Graham was one of his mentors, obviously, because he worked with him in other places. So continuity here is key. And maybe, just maybe, for a head coach coming in as a first-time head coach, he does have his defensive manager, and that's Rob Leonard, because he understands what this place is already about and what personnel he has at his disposal Beyond that, what's the personality going to be? And there's a lot of questions to be answered free agent wise, especially in the linebacker room. But we know what he can do with a defensive front because that was arguably a strength of the team last year.
Yeah, Paul G is our guest as we wrap it up. I just, the soft cover zone, the space over the linebacker. He predominantly is on the defensive line connected to Max and the pass rushers. But the biggest thing that's got to get cleaned up, other than the teaching and the offensive line depth, is to have a philosophy on how you're going to play defense. You cannot play bump and run with Caillou Blue Kelly and Darian Porter with limited experience. And they don't have linebackers that are really good in coverage. So I'm expecting a lot of personnel to be changed out so they can put in a scheme that's going to be more aggressive. Doesn't that come down to it? How much more aggressive can you be as long as Max Crosby's on this roster so the linebackers and the secondary can make more plays?
Yeah, it goes back, and you've been here longer than I have, obviously, and I've been here since 2005 covering this team. And anybody from back then, whether it was Tommy Kelly or Khalil Mack or Max Crosby, they all say the same thing. It's pass rush helping out coverage helping out pass rush. That has to be, that's a non-negotiable. Now, though, we want to see the defensive front. We want to see that front seven pinning its ears back and going after the quarterback. And really, the only way you can do that is if you have corners that can do it. I mean, you don't have Lester Hayes. Mike Haynes isn't walking through that door. Willie Brown isn't walking through that door. Nnamdi Asomugha isn't walking through the door. But you have to have a scheme that fits the players. And that, to me, is what's most intriguing and most important about Rob Leonard, because as a defensive line coach, he's all about see ball, get ball. Now he has to see the entirety of the defense and see what that vision looks like going forward.
All right, last one with the combine coming up here and the trip to the combine. A lot of people are going to say the number one pick's in the can. It's already done. So now you're focusing on the number 2 pick, which would be the first pick in the second round, unless you trade up or trade back. I love trading up to go get the player. I love that. I love by pick 20, 21. If you see the guy there and he's on the offensive line and you love him, go get him. Just go get him and then worry about the 3rd, 4th round after that. But what are you going to be focusing on here overall, knowing that everybody thinks the Raiders need to clean up the offensive line to most likely protect Mendoza?
Yeah, and here's where it gets interesting is there's the calendar, right? So free agency happens before the draft. You got to do your due diligence throughout, obviously, and then the combine is first. But I would expect, and I've heard you say this, and I'm with you, trade up. Trade up. If you see somebody you like, trade up. Maybe other trades to get multiple picks. They do need some offensive linemen, but I'd rather see them do that in free agency to get guys that have some felts on the wall. You go out there and do it to protect that quarterback. Beyond that, I'll throw this out there, and I'll just I threw this up. I put this up the flagpole too. I'd like to see at some point Zach Branch, the receiver from Georgia, from USC,
love him,
who is Cliff Branch's great nephew. Mm-hmm. And if you've got a Latino quarterback throwing deep balls to a speedy receiver named Branch wearing number 21, I don't know, maybe we can have a history of repeating itself.
I always thought when I watched him play at Gorman, I was like, that's a pro. And then I went to a game where Cliff was at in LA, and Cliff thought he was a pro at that age. I would love to see something like that, but the offensive line is going to be something I'm really into discussing with you throughout the offseason. Paul, great job at the Hall of Fame update for the Latino Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that honor for you.
I appreciate that. And yeah, Munoz and Ron Rivera were both founding members of it as well. So it's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. And look forward to doing it. And JT, just please stop raising your voice at me.
I will not do that again. Take care, Paul. Be well.
Good.
We didn't have Dodger talk, Dodger Yankee talk there at the end. Paul and Harry Ruiz like to get in their shots with my Yankees as the Dodgers. Man, I've been talking a lot of baseball. Tony Clark, former Tiger Clay, sleeping with his sister-in-law. So we did that last night on the show. Tony Clark is now out of the union and destroyed his life, and he destroyed his family. And as someone told me, a young mentor in my life is pretty good until you screw it up. Tony Clark had a pretty good life. Now he's accused of maybe some financial improprieties with the union, and then accused of having a relationship outside his marriage with his sister-in-law. How do you think his week's going?
Yeah, it's going pretty bad. You're getting a lot of head shaking, and nobody wants to hear from you, and yet you still have to explain yourself. But internally and his family, you got turmoil even in the players' union, as now terms of lockout are starting to become bandied about as both Major League Baseball and their CBA begins to run out, and the negotiations even for a salary cap without Tony Clark not going well.
This is a big hockey game in progress. The United States and Sweden. No score with 11 minutes to go in the second period. The winner will go on most likely, obviously, to play Canada in the gold medal game. This is the semifinal game. Remember when we look back at the 1980 Olympic team? Remember they beat Russia in this game, the semifinal, not the final. They beat Russia in the semifinal for the Miracle on Ice. You can't get to the gold unless you win the semi. So we'll keep an eye on that coming up. If you want to get through, 702-365-9200 as we continue on here. And good show. Paul Gutierrez, Stephen A. Smith. And coming up next, Luke Easterling is going to join us from Athlon Sport. Just another one of the guys I'm going to knock down in regards to having an interview with. Like, not knock him down personally, but get him on the grid. Let's talk to as many NFL draft gurus as we can as the Raiders are on the clock for the number one pick overall in the draft. I think that's fantastic. We're brought to you by Boyd Gaming, proud partner of the show. Always bet on black. Thank you, everybody. We are out. We did an hour and 20. Enjoy lunch. Enjoy dinner. Enjoy a Modelo. Enjoy the rest of your day. No radio tonight. Tomorrow morning before this show. No, I'm not going to the combine. Never go to the combine. I might be off that week too, so I'll let you know. But we're going to take some time off coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And everybody will be made aware of that. Have a great day.